And again she bare his brother Abel. And Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. There you see a very old representation. There's Abel there, and he's got his sheep up on the altar, and Cain is bringing a sheaf of wheat. And I don't know exactly what's happening here with the blood, or it's a ray, perhaps, it's something like that. But the overall impression of the image is that something transcendent is communicating with this sacrifice. And you see, you think, oh, how primitive, how primitive these people were sacrificing to their God. It's like, those people weren't stupid. And this is not primitive. Whatever it is, it's not primitive. It's sophisticated beyond belief, because the idea, as I already pointed out, is that you could sacrifice something of value and that would have transcendent utility. And that is by no means an unsophisticated idea. In fact, it might be the greatest idea that human beings ever came up with. It's an answer to the problem that's put forward in the story of Adam and Eve, right? Because we became self-conscious, and then we discovered the future, and then we knew we were going to die, and then we knew we were vulnerable, and then we became ashamed, and then we developed the knowledge of good and evil, and then we got thrown out of paradise. It's like, that's a big problem. So what the hell are you going to do about it? Well, sacrifice. That's the hypothesis. Well, that's a hell of a hypothesis, man. That's what we're doing. You made plenty of sacrifices, even to sit in this theater, and many people made plenty of sacrifices to have a theater like this exist, and many people made sacrifices so that we could actually freely engage in the dialogue that we're engaging in a theater like this. And so it's like all of this is built on sacrifice, and sacrifice bloody well better work, because we do not have a better idea. Sacrifice, what's the counter position? Murder and theft. So let's go with sacrifice, shall we? And perhaps we won't consider it so damn primitive, because it's not so primitive. And again she bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, and Cain was a tiller of the ground. Now some people have read into this the eternal battle between herdsmen and agriculturalists, which raged in the American West, for example, because the herdsmen liked to have their herds, sheep, cattle, go wherever they were going to go, and of course the agriculturists, the farmers, like to have things fenced off. And the agriculturalists actually won in the final analysis. But anyways, Abel is a keeper of sheep, and that's interesting because that makes him a shepherd. And I think that's part of the critical issue here, because a shepherd, I talked a little bit about shepherds before. If you look at Michelangelo's statue of David, which is another staggering work. I mean, that David, he's no trivial figure, and of course it's David who slays Goliath, right? And Goliath is like the giant of the patriarchal enemy. It's something like that. And Middle Eastern shepherds, they had to take care of sheep, and they're edible, and the lambs are very vulnerable, and there were lots of wild animals around. It wasn't like England in the 16th century. It was like there were lions, and you had a slingshot or a stick or some damn thing, and so your job was to keep the sheep organized and not let them be eaten by the lions alone. And so you had to have a clue and be tough and self-reliant and all of those things. You had to be tough and self-reliant. You had to be able to take care of a lot of vulnerable things. You had to be able to do it on your own. And so that's all built into the shepherd metaphor. And it's a tough thing. It's not a great metaphor for modern people, because we tend to think of the shepherd as someone like little Lord Fauntleroy, like some little, certainly not a lion-killing, hyper-masculine, lion-killing, monster. That's not a shepherd. A shepherd sort of dances around, and, that's not the metaphor here. That's not the metaphor here. So Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. Okay, so he's participating in this sacrificial ritual. And Abel, he brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. Now you don't know why that is, and this is a built-in ambiguity, I think. Now, I think there's textual hints, but I'm not sure. Abel brought the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, he brought it's a high quality sacrifice. You don't know that Abel's sacrifice is low quality, because it doesn't say, Abel brought God some wilted lettuce and then burnt it. He doesn't say that. But there isn't a sentence there that talks about how high quality Cain's sacrifice is. But in any case, the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering. So there's a hint that Abel's putting a little bit more into the whole sacrificial thing than Cain. But there's also a hint that maybe God is just liking you a little better than he's liking him. And that's, I think, useful from a literary perspective, because there is that arbitrariness about life. With my own children, for example, one of them has had, I would say, things come easy to him. He's lucky, fortunate, however you want to put it. He seems to be that sort of person. Whereas my other child is it's just like one horrible Job-like catastrophe after another. And it's so strange to see that, because as far as I can tell, the characterological differences are certainly not accounting for the difference in destiny. The one child who's had so much trouble, as a child, was just a wonderful child. So amazingly happy and easy to get along with and fun. And had a terrible time of it. So who knows what God's up to? But distributing fate equally certainly isn't one of them. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and his offering. But unto Cain and his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, angry. Wroth is a tough word. And these are translated many times. It's hard to get the full flavor of the words. But wroth, and his countenance fell. Well, to have your countenance fell, this is sort of up. To fall is to have it be heavy, depressed, for sure, angry, for sure, resentful, probably, wroth, that's anger. So Cain is not a happy clam that his hard work is being rejected by God. Now that's worth thinking about, really, because you think about how human that story is. You're out there. Well, we could say you might be a useless character, and you're whining about how catastrophic your life is, and it's pretty much obvious to everyone around you and you that it's your fault. You just don't try. You don't wake up in the morning, you don't get a job, you don't engage in things, you're cynical and you're bitter and you're angry, and you don't try to help the people near you, and you don't try to fix up your own life, and you don't take care of yourself, and and then things go wrong, and it's like, well, really, what do you expect? But that doesn't mean someone in that situation will just say, well, that's okay, I deserve it, and they'll be happy about it. They won't. They'll be absolutely bitter about it and angry. But put that aside for a moment. There are people who seem to struggle very forthrightly, let's say, and still have one catastrophe after another happen to them. And so there's no easy answer in this story. It's like you can fall afoul of God because your sacrifices are second rate, or you can just fall afoul of God and you don't know why. Well, tough luck for you. And then what happens in either case is exactly this, almost inevitably. Cain was wroth and his countenance fell. Well, you meet, and people like this write to me all the time. I've seen many of them as clients. They say they're 20, not so often, 30 more commonly, sometimes 40. Their lives haven't gone well. They're in a pit of despair of one form or another. And not only are they in a pit of despair, but they're extraordinarily angry about it. And God only knows what they would do with that anger if they had the opportunity to give it full voice.